to read out the objectives and then do a group assignment before we go into the training proper. What is the objective of this training? At the end of this training, you'll be able to understand the steps involved in calculating the cost of your goods or services using your business record. A lot of us don't know how we arrive at cost. We don't even know what our business cost is. And that is why we see confusion among entrepreneurs. They do business, they don't know the cost of the business, they don't know if they're making profit, you know. All they assume is that, okay, I bought this product for 15 naira and I'm selling it for 16 naira, so I'm making a profit of 10 naira. Is that correct? Is that how it's supposed to be? Is that the whole picture of the business?
No.
No, that is not the whole picture of the business. And that is why today we want to see how you arrive at cost in your own business. And then we're going to take some steps and define the process of costing your business. Are we together? Yes. So I'm going to give you a group assignment. With a partner, discuss the following 2 questions and write your answers. What are the prices of the goods or services sold by your partner? You know, 2 of you are partners, your partner. And then, are the prices appropriate? Why? Is that clear? So I'm going to give you some notes. So quickly, have that discussion in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, you can take some action, please. What are the prices of the goods or services sold by your partner? So you have your goods, just name it, the price you are selling it, and are these prices appropriate? And if they are, why? If they are not, why? Thank you. Okay, please, let's come back. So I want 2 people, 2 volunteers, to share internally what we discussed with your partner. 2 volunteers, please. That's 2 volunteers. Okay, go ahead.
A discussion on my partner that our business is more like drink. We sell drinks to people, and our drinks are more like fruit drinks and also smoothies, because we feel like it's important to people out there. So our price rate is 500 for 25 cl. So we feel like it's appropriate for that due to the effort you put and the other products you buy. So if you like that 500 naira is appropriate for 25 cl.
Thank you. Yes, one more volunteer. Yes,
we are into footwears, and one of the pairs of the shoes sold for 100,000. The price is appropriate because of the cost of import and export. So we just have to maybe around the quality.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Please give yourself a power clap, another one, and a bigger one. Thank you. We've all said so much about how we arrive, if the prices that we fix are appropriate, and why we feel they are appropriate. Yeah, we answered correctly, but I didn't see much of the why, you know, except for the last group that presented, even though they were not too detailed. It is very, very important for us to look at each of the cost elements and arrive at our pricing. A lot of times we just use our competitors' price to fix our own price. So, okay, everybody is selling for 500 naira. Okay, or this person is selling for 500, this one is selling for 600. Why not just we stay in between and sell our own for 550 naira? You know, so that the customers of those who are selling for 600 will come to us, and then we tell the other customers of the other one that our products are better in qualities, and then they will come for us. Without you checking your true cost. How much does it cost you to bring that product to the shelf? What is the total cost? The material cost, the cost of labor, the operational cost, and every other thing that is involved, including your rent, depreciation, and all of that. You have to bring all of those cost factors into consideration, and you arrive at a final cost. When you arrive at the final cost, then you now look at what your competitors are charging. If your competitors are charging far below that cost, it means that the business is not profitable for you to go into. And then you also consider what profit margin do you want to take, and at the end of the day, you set your price. Are we together? Okay, so quickly, we want to look at what is costing. And here we said costing is the calculation of all of the costs that goes into making and selling a good or providing a service. All, just like I explained earlier, all of the costs involved. Like we said, the cost of purchasing that product from China, the cost of importation, the logistics, the import duty, the exchange rate fluctuations, all of this cost, your labor, transportation, rent, depreciation, and all of that, you have to calculate all of this cost before you arrive at the overall product cost. And what we're going to be doing this morning is to find out how to calculate, how to do that calculation end to end. Are we clear? But first, let me show you classification of cost. We have what they call the product cost. Most of us are into production while others are providing services. And for those of us that are into production, we know there's what they call production cost. Another production cost, you have the material cost, that is the cost you use in buying the raw materials. You also, under the material cost, you have the direct material cost. These are costs that you can actually trace directly to that particular production. And then you have the indirect material cost. These are costs that you cannot trace to the production of a particular material. For example, if I'm making a dress, I can trace the cost of a fabric to the particular dress I am producing. Isn't it? But there are also other costs that is not directly to that particular fabric, that material. These are costs that are so small sometimes that affect so many other things that are doing in the organization. Are we clear? Then we also have the labor cost. And under labor cost, we have the direct labor cost and the indirect labor cost. Direct labor cost is using the same fabric, the same tailoring shop as an example. The cost you pay a single tailor to produce a single cloth for you, that is direct. So the cost of producing that dress is 5 naira per dress. And then the indirect costs are probably indirect labor costs are labor costs that you cannot trace directly to a particular product. For example, the operational staff. So these are staff that are not related directly to that particular product, but they are staff that provide service for the whole organization. Is that clear? Yes. And then we have the non-production cost, which is your overhead expenses. You pay your utility bill, and other things. So it is always very important for us to categorize or classify our cost. So we want to look at cost for a single product manufacturer or service. So I'm going to show you a practical way that we have done it. And I have done some of those calculations. At the end of the day, I will show you. And it is also very important that you carry out a particular assignment. I have the data from the record book, which you will use to do your own calculation. Any question at this point? Okay. So calculating the cost. The first step is what? Calculate the total cost per month. You still remember? The total cost per month. And then the next step is what? You calculate the number of items that you produced. The third step is what? Calculate the total cost per item. Is that clear? You calculate the total cost per month, total You now calculate the total number of items you produce for that month, and then you calculate the total cost per item. So how do you do those calculations? Very simple. Step one, calculate the total cost per month. You add material cost, that is the cost of raw materials or whatever it is, plus the labor cost. Remember our tailoring example, maybe that is the cost of fabrics, buttons, zips, and all of that. Plus the cost you pay your tailor, the labor cost, plus the overhead cost. That is your utility bills and all of that. When you add all of this together, what do you have? Is that clear? Yes. So remember, this is the cost for the whole month, not cost per item. Okay, let me give an example. We bought 50 yards of fabric this month. You put the cost here, including the cost of all the zip, everything you require to produce that particular, that you use for your production for the month. And then the total labor cost, and then the total overhead cost. When you add all of it together, you have your total cost for the month. Is that clear? Yes. Okay. Now, let me give you some figures so that you will understand. Let's assume that your total, can somebody put it down, please? Your total material cost is 5,000 naira. Total material cost, 5,000 naira. Total labor cost, 2,000 naira. Total overhead expenses, 1,500 naira. So what is going to be your total cost for the month?
500.
As simple as ABC. I'm sure that I will put numbers to it, it's clear. Isn't it? Okay. Step two, what do? Calculate the number of items produced per month. Now you have your total cost for the month. You now want to know how many items did you produce for the month. How do you calculate that? Number of items produced per month is equals to sales volume per month divided by unit price. Are we clear? Of course, there's a way you can actually just count the number of items you produce. But you can also do it this way. The sales volume, how much did you sell for the month? So let's assume that your total sales for the month is 12,500 naira. Total sales, 12,500 naira. And your unit price, are we taking note?
Yes.
Your unit price is 125 naira. So what will be the total number of items produced for the month? 100. So at this step now, you've identified the total number of items you produced per month. Your total cost is how much?
8,500.
What is the total cost?
8,500.
What about the number of items produced for the month?
100.
Thank you. Let's give ourselves a power clap. And then the third and the final step is calculate the total cost per items. Remember, we don't know the cost per item. We only know the total cost, and we know the what? The total number of items that we produced for the month. Now we want to know the cost per item, and it's very simple. So total cost per item equals to total cost per month divided by number of items produced per month. So your total cost is how much?
It's 5.
Divide by number of items produced. How many?
100.
So give me the answer.
85.
So what is your total cost per item?
It's 5 naira.
So this is how you arrive at your cost of production per item. Is it difficult? Is it simple? Straightforward, direct. But I promise you it's more complex when it comes to multiple products. When you have, you're selling smoothie, you're selling cook, you're selling different, you have different lines of production. Next time when we are meeting, we're going to discuss how you do costing for multiple products, or we have multiple services, like we do here, we have multiple services. Okay. So, do you have any question? You want any clarification on this? because I'm going to give you an assignment now. I have a record book from comfort chairs, and you're going to look at this record book and try as much as possible to replicate what we have done now. Are we ready?
Yes.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Please.